So 2024 is here, and of course, we got a whole new year of horror movies to look forward to. And much like last year, we start off with a Blumhouse original. Last year, it was Megan. This year, it's The Night Swim.
Mm-hmm.
Or just Night Swim.
Just Night Swim.
No, The Night Swim. That's all right. So this, I'm sure you've seen trailers to. They've been promoting the hell out of this one. This one stars Wyatt Russell. Yes, Kurt Russell's son. And he is a father who was a baseball player. And he came down with MS.
Mm-hmm.
And so him and his family are relocating for his recovery, potentially, or not recovery, depending. And they find this house. There's a pool, and the pool's evil. Yep, haunted swimming pool movie. Swimming pools in movies being evil or used as a horror trope is not new. This is something that has been prevalent in horror for so many years. I can think of tons and tons of examples off the top of my head, like House.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny though is when we saw the trailer to this, the first thing that I thought of, and a couple other people I saw online as well, is an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, where it has a haunted pool as well.
Yeah.
So okay, I've seen enough reviews of this movie at this point from friends and whatnot to know exactly what to expect from the general consensus, which is primarily going to be either it's a Blumhouse movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 50% of the audience that walks into this is already walking into it wanting to hate it at least, right? And then there's a good majority of people who just refuse to watch it outright.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who hate horror movies being PG-13 and will trash them any chance they get. All horror should be R, in their eyes. And I'll say this. Okay. We talked about this a decent amount. I thought about this a bit, and I always do. But we've talked about this plenty of times on the channel. Like, not every movie needs to be for you.
No,
right? So that right there, to me, is just arrogance. Like, why isn't this movie geared towards me? Right? This is my genre, and I say what goes.
Yeah.
It's R ratings or nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so silly. If this doesn't appeal to you, then don't watch it. If you're somebody who hates Blumhouse movies or all modern movies, that's something I'm actually seeing in the comments in the 2023 video that we just made. A lot of people are, I just don't like modern horror. And stop fucking watching it. Why do you keep coming to channels looking for people's opinions on horror when all you care about is the past?
I mean, eventually.
Then fucking watch movies in the past and watch. Yeah, eventually this will be
modern horror will become retro.
But they won't like this, right? But I don't know. It's like they're clinging on to something. I personally just think these people want to bitch. But yeah, it's a Blumhouse movie, so that immediately gets people upset and wanting to hate the movie. Putting all that aside, this is not going to win anyone over as far as the people who are like, this is PG-13. It's Blumhouse. It's going to be tropey and this and that. Okay, so the thing that actually kind of surprised me about the film is that the film is not jump scare centric at all.
No, it's not.
There's very few jump scares in the film, which was kind of shocking to me. And when you are writing a story that's, surrounding something that is so easy to get away from, right? It's like, just don't go in the pool, right? It's like an inanimate object or just like a very specific small location or something. It always poses a very challenging, a challenge, for a writer. And, this was a short and probably serves better as a short in concept. But I think what the writer did here because it never felt like anything was being forced or like I had to like roll my eyes on, oh, come on, why wouldn't they leave? Oh, come on, why would anyone go near that pool again? Oh, come on. I think they did a pretty good job of balancing that element of the story and really focusing on the family dynamic and the characters and the story. And it's weird because a movie like this, people will label it stupid basically no matter what it does. So I just don't think there's any winning those types of people over, because I do see a lot of, well, it's just dumb and fun. But I think that the story here is competent and fairly like, it was done well in that department more than I would expect.
Yeah.
Right? But overall, I think the movie is fine. Like, it's watchable. It's entry level horror. Movies like this exist purely for like throwaway, fun popcorn movies for teenagers to go to make out with their girlfriends and laugh and have a good time and jump a few times. And I don't think there's anything wrong with those types of movies. Not everything has to be like, you know, an Academy Award winning classic type of movies. I just, the 80s, the 90s, all these golden eras that people seem to always think so fondly of are littered.
So many movies.
I mean, slasher movies.
Yeah. That are just
how
like
many slasher movies are just completely forgettable, and they don't even remember them because, you know, half of them aren't even available anymore because they were so fucking forgettable and throwaway. So I don't know. People are way too hard on modern movies, period. Yeah. And I think that that's just unchanged. Anyways, I don't want to yap too much. I know I've been talking for like 5 straight minutes. I want to know your thoughts on it, but
I mean, I agree with you. I do think that they did a good job at like the motivations for why anybody would stay around the pool and like continue to be in this environment. I didn't find it eye-rolly either. I thought that it was pretty well done. And I thought that the lore that they were sort of exploring with like the pool and the haunting and everything, I was actually fairly interested in that. It's not really gone into in much depth, which is fine. Like I wasn't necessarily expecting it to, but I liked like the setup there, and I think that it is something that you could have gone deeper with. But I do think that it just wasn't that kind of a movie. I think it was kind of just added to not necessarily pad the runtime, but just give a little bit more sustenance to the story. But I liked it. I think that like some of the like visuals that we got were pretty effective. Like you had said, there's not really any jump scare moments. I mean, there's a few like minor ones, but I thought the visuals were fine. Like they looked pretty creepy. Nothing that is going to stand out to me like years to come or anything, or even maybe at the end of this year when we get to our, you know, top movies of 2024. But overall, I don't know. I liked the movie. Like I had a fine time with it. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't amazing, but it was fine. Like I enjoyed it, you know, overall.
Yeah.
I thought it had good pacing too. I didn't feel like anything was like kind of overstaying its welcome. And yeah, I liked it. I think that it's the kind of movie that if you as a kid or even as an adult, but especially as a kid, if you were like afraid of swimming pools at any point, I think that it could probably like strike a chord with you from that perspective. So, yeah.
I think if this was a straight to VOD release that wasn't attached to Blumhouse, people would be way more forgiving of it and be like, oh yeah, it was watchable, it was fun, I had a good time, it was, you know, it's forgettable. But I just think with the Blumhouse label and it being like so focused on that it's PG-13. But I've said this before, and I'll say it a million more times, when it comes to like supernatural horror, like especially haunted house movies, which essentially this is what this is, you always have similar elements that basically call for almost all haunted house movies to be PG-13 anyways. Like I don't see a lot of reason for R in supernatural. Now, would I be fine with it being R and them changing it up and not just being so formulaic with it and all that? Sure. But these movies always have the same, you know, things going on as far as like there's always like a low body count whenever you have like kids involved. You know, they're not going to go too hard in that direction. That it's a family and you know, the cast is mostly going to survive, if not all of them. And all the people who come around it, you'll have like a stinger in the opening where someone will die in the past, and then everyone who else comes around it, either like you might get a death or not. Like the kill count's always really low.
Yeah.
It's much more focused on like atmosphere and tension building and the dread of like what's to come and everything built around the element, whether it's the haunted house or the haunted pool or the haunted couch or whatever the fuck. So I don't know. This to me had a lot of pretty standard fare things to them.
Yeah.
Everything just kind of felt like, yeah, we watch movies like this because it's better than probably half the movies I watched last year, or maybe like at least 35, 40%. Now I watched like almost 170 freaking horror movies last year, but it's a competently made film, you know, with a studio budget. So they should make a competent film if you have this kind of budget. I think the budget was like $15 million. But I think the director did what they thought, you know, they did the best they could, so to speak, but you are kind of crippled with a story where it's like, you got to just make it about a swimming pool. That is tough. So I don't know. Overall, I'm defending the movie maybe more than I should, just because I know people write movies off like this too easily. And
they do.
And they just like shit on them immediately without actually thinking about them, label them as dumb, label them as forgettable. And it's like, yes, it's forgettable enough, but I just think it's a fine film.
Yeah.
That being said, to be totally contradictory and hypocritical, fine films to me are like The Kiss of Death. Like,
yeah,
that's
you hate
like
them more than bad films.
I do, but I feel like this one was a little bit better. This one didn't piss me off as much because I didn't have anything in the movie, like you said, that like made me roll my eyes or anything. I liked the family, fine. I liked the story, fine. I liked the setup for all the scares, fine. I liked, you know, the climax and the ending, fine. There's nothing I loved and there's nothing I hated. Yeah. Everything was just like, yeah, that was all right. And typically that pisses me off. But this one, I was just kind of like fine with it.
Yeah.
You know, even though that makes sense. But all right. That all being said, I don't really know exactly why. Mostly, maybe it's just because I'm trying to defend Blumhouse. Because everyone's like, they're such shit. And I'm like,
I like Blumhouse.
They're fine. Honestly. They do either good, they do good stuff sometimes, do bad stuff sometimes, like every studio.
Yeah. I never really have a problem with like Blumhouse being the ones behind a movie. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But it's definitely not going to be for everyone. I think I had a good time watching it. It's not going to be anything like in my top anything at the end of the year, but that's okay. Like, not every movie has to be that.
No. So, yeah, we didn't come out the gate swinging or anything. I really enjoyed Megan last year. This is nowhere near.
No, this isn't a Megan.
A Megan, because Megan, if anything, is an iconic villain character.
Oh, absolutely.
That will define this generation of horror. Yeah. For sure. She'll be one of the most memorable things in horror. Like that or not, I don't really give a shit. You know, there's plenty of things in horror like Scream for me that I don't really care for all that much. I don't like Ghostface and all that. And people fucking love it. It's iconic to the 90s. And I would never state that it isn't. Of course it is. But where Megan, of course, is going to be a huge, huge staple of the 2020s horror. She just is an iconic image and villain. So nothing like that. But it reminds me of like Lights Out. It's a short that was taken to feature, which really didn't need one, but they were trying to exploit a gimmick for cash. and the director did the best that they could. So that's it.
That's it.
So that's 2024's first horror film of the year. We'll get better. We'll get better.
Yeah.
We won't. This is how bad we are at reviewing movies.
Yeah, this is how we always are.
And we ain't doing it again. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.